everyone, happy Friday, and this will be a pretty quick Friday reads because June just started a couple days ago on Wednesday, and I'm not going to talk about the books that I finished in May because my May wrap-up is going to go up in a couple days, so I just didn't feel like repeating them right away. So I'm only going to talk about things that I have either finished or finished, in the last couple days in June, or that I've started. And there is like one thing that is like that I had started in May and then I'm still reading. So I have finished 2 things so far in June. I'm happy. These are both things that I started last month, so it's not like I just read them in the last 3 days, but I am happy because one of my goals, if you happen to see May June TBR, was to finish books that I have started over the last few months and just like really get things finished. And it's the 3rd day and I have 2 things finished already. So first I finished off Cleopatra, and this is a biography of Cleopatra, and this one took me all of May and then a couple of days into June to read. It wasn't my favorite. That was kind of middle of the road for me. Like, I liked learning more about Cleopatra and like, seeing her as more of a dynamic historical character instead of like, kind of the peg that she's like, the hole she's pushed into, as like the seductress. I don't like it when that is still portrayed in different forms of media. So it was interesting hearing more about her, but I felt the writing was a bit dry. So not my favorite, but I don't regret reading it. I appreciate learning the information. It just was kind of a slog for me to get through. And then I finished The Seventh Bride, and this was one that I was reading as part of a video where my friend Kara from Wild Book Garden was picking the books I was going to read around my birthday, and I just didn't get this one finished before June, and I just finished it while my kids were in the bath. I was reading this, and I just really enjoy T. Kingfisher. I love her humor. I love that her stories are so creative, so this one was just interesting throughout. It wasn't as humorous as some of the other ones I have read, but still, when there was humor or a little lighter moments that broke up the tension, I was enjoying it. I really like that our main character in this has a hedgehog companion, because I'm all for animal companions, especially cute little like, forest animal companions. So yeah, this was just fun. A lot about like women working together and all that. So I would enjoy it. If you haven't tried T. Kingfisher, give her a try. If you like something that's a bit quirky but still has some that has like fantasy elements, maybe a little bit of creepiness and tension, but then also has a little wacky, whimsical humor as well. So if that sounds up your alley, definitely try her out. So those are the 2 things I finished. I have one thing that I had started in May and I'm still reading, and that is The Land of Stories, Book 2, The Enchantress Returns. This is a read that I'm doing with my daughter. We're listening to this in the car, so that's why it's just taking us longer. We had finished the first book in May and we're just continuing on to the series, and I like to also have the books out from the library just so I can kind of see where we are, and then if she wants to look at the pictures, there's pictures at the beginning of the chapters. And we actually read quite a bit in the car today and I didn't move my bookmark, but we're about 200 pages into this and we're enjoying this. This is not a series that I necessarily would be continuing if I was just reading for myself. Like, I'm enjoying it, like I'm definitely having a good time with it, but I don't know if I've been compelled to continue if I was just reading from my own personal, because there's some things that are definitely on, like, I mean, obviously it's going to be on kid level since it's a middle grade book, but sometimes, there's a little bit of like almost pandering to kids, you know what I'm talking about? Like, so there's sometimes when we're kind of almost approaching a moral and he just lays out exactly what the moral is, what we're supposed to be learning in this moment, and there's no like nuance. And so it's missing a little of nuance for an adult reader, but it is super fun to read this with my daughter and see all the like fairy tale characters and enjoy, discuss it with her and her excitement. So I am enjoying it. I just don't know if I would be as like compelled to continue it on my own because of that lack of nuance in the moral. And then I have 2 books that I have started in the last couple days. So I had picked up Spear by Nicola Griffith. This was on my LGBTQ plus TBR, so it's like a books I want to read for Pride Month. And unfortunately I have DNF this one. So I made it, it's a novella, so I only made it 50 pages in, but that is still like 30% of the book. And I just knew that if I continued, I would have ended up giving this a low rating, and I didn't really want to rate it low because I don't think there's anything necessarily wrong with it. It's just not the book for me. It's very flowery writing. In case you didn't see my TBR, this is a Arthurian legend kind of story. So not necessarily a direct retelling, but definitely takes place in Camelot and has characters from the Arthur stories. And yeah, it just is super, it's so flowery, and that's not my style. And so like, as I was like, reading it, it's one of those things where I think like an individual sentence is beautiful, and I'm like, oh, this is so well written, but then when you string those sentences together, I'm like, I understand the words, but I do not understand what I just read. And that just happens to me sometimes with flowery prose, that as I'm going along, I'll have read like a few pages and realize that I didn't catch a single thing that happened in those pages because the writing is just too descriptive or too flowery, and I can't like get the essence out of it. It's just not my style. I have trouble staying with books like that. So if it's your style, if you like flowery writing and you like Arthur legends, then here is a queer Arthur legend that's following a woman that I don't know if she's actually in the original, because I don't know much about the Arthur legends. I don't know if she's actually a character from Arthur, if she's just in that world. But yeah, you might enjoy it if that's your style. But if you're not into flowery prose, I would not suggest picking that one up. And then the other thing that the last thing that I picked up was Pivot Point. It's a young adult kind of like speculative fiction book where people in this world have like special abilities, and the girl we're following, she has the ability to like split, like see the future and split into like two ways depending on how she makes a decision. So she can follow both like outcomes from that decision and then decide what she's gonna choose to do in the moment. And so that's kind of a cool ability. It's almost like she could see the future, but then she can come back to regular time and be like, okay, yes or no, I'm going to make this decision. And so it has a lot to do with fate and choices. I am just still at the beginning, since like I said, I just started it on, I think I started it yesterday, June 2nd. So just beginning it, liking it so far, but that is like 30 pages in. So not sure how I like it overall. So yeah, this is not like a very long Friday reads, since I've only had 3 days in the month and I've already DNF'd a book, and I've finished 2 that I had started and only had like a little bit left. But I am so happy that I am making those decisions to DNF books that I don't like. I'm not disappointed about that at all, because I found that I just had a really great reading month in May, and I DNF, you'll see if you watch my May wrap up that I DNF'd a book in May. And because of that, I had all 4 and 5 star reads, like every single book. I'm not counting the manga that I read for a special video, but every single like novel I read was 4 and 5 stars, which is great. That's a great reading month. And you know, I didn't like absolutely love Cleopatra. It is like a 3 star, but I don't regret reading it. It's not like a 3 star that I'm like, oh, I should just like given up on this. But like, I want all my reading to be 4 or 5 stars. So I'm giving myself more permission to just be like, this book is not for me. I've given it 30%. There's no reason to like make myself read it, even if it's a novella, to just give it like 2 stars. And that's not even reflective of the actual book sometimes. I mean, obviously sometimes there are books that I might be like, objectively, this is not like the best book, but like, I don't think there's anything wrong with that book's sphere. It just is not for me. And I know I'm personally never going to give it a 4 or 5 stars. So why am I making myself read it? So I'm glad I'm making those choices. I'm really enjoying what I am reading right now, and I hope that you are also enjoying your summer reading. I know it's not officially summer at the beginning of June, but it feels like summer. It's beautiful, and I just want to have a summer full of reading that I love. So that's it for me. I will see you next time. Bye.